Like you just wear bright colors. Like, well, my height doesn't help that. So. Feel like all of a sudden it got really quiet in here, and that was my cue to enter the room.
We're getting serious.
Feels like it. Okay, if everyone could just take their seats, that'd be great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christy Mulrain, and I am the Vice President of the Killarney-Glengarry Community Association. And in partnership with Richmond Nob Hill, Bankview, and Marteloup Community Associations, we are thrilled to welcome you tonight to our Mayoral Candidate Forum. I'm not a professional moderator, so I appreciate the encouragement. Thank you very much. We are thrilled to have you here. This is a full house. It's fantastic. Last night we hosted our Ward 8 candidate forum, and again, same thing, full house. So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. It's so encouraging to see such engagement from the community. I also want to thank those who are joining us on the live stream. Those who couldn't be here in person, we are live streaming the event so they can watch it online now or at a later time. I want to thank our youth volunteers from Youth Central. So we've got high school students helping us out here the last couple of nights and set up, tear down. Awesome. And the board members as well from all the community associations that made this event possible. I want to thank Buffalo 9 for being here. They're our local brewery just down the street. If you haven't grabbed a refreshment, please make your way over there. There is also going to be a meet and mingle following the question and answer period. So it's a good chance to grab yourself a beverage and get to know our candidates. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the 4 candidates joining us tonight. We have Sonya Sharp. We have Brian Thiessen. Jeff Davison. And Jeromy Farkas. So the format for the evening we'll kick off with candidate introductions. They'll each get 5 minutes to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about why they want to be your next mayor. And then they will each answer the same 3 questions. When you registered for tonight's event, you all wrote down questions that you would like to ask the candidates. There were several of them. If we answered all of them, we'd be here all night. So we did go through and find 3 key themes that we will be asking about: development, safety, and infrastructure. I ask that when we ask these questions, you please focus as best as you can on your responses and not on the response of the other candidates, since we only do have a 30-minute window for this portion. That being said, we will not be taking any live questions from the audience. However, following the Q&A, we will have the meet and mingle where you can have an opportunity to talk one-on-one with the candidates. They can spread themselves out amongst the room, and that's a good opportunity to talk about anything that you may want to at that time. A few housekeeping items. Please stay seated during the event. Washrooms are down the steps and to the left if you need it, or there's an accessible one here behind me. The emergency exits are where you entered or at the north and south end of the building here. Last but not least, I'm your moderator for the night. So I will be asking the questions and timing the responses to make sure that everybody gets a fair say. With that said, I'm going to pass it off to Jeromy here for his intro.
Well, thank you so much for the warm welcome, and thank you so much to the incredible Community Association volunteers that helped put this on. Having been a Community Association volunteer and executive myself, I know that putting on events like this are a tremendous amount of work. My name's Jeromy, and I am ready to be your next mayor. We have the opportunity tonight to be able to talk a little bit about the future of our city, where we're going, but I thought we might as well start with where I've been, where we've been, and where we're from. I'm from here. I live and share a home with my partner 2 blocks away, just in Glamorgan, right behind the bakery, where everyone enjoys the amazing cheese buns. I went to school about 4 blocks away at Bishop Carroll, and this part of the community has really been incredible to me. I've had so many incredible opportunities to be able to contribute in public and personal and professional life. I got my start right here in the neighborhood. I served for several years on the Rutland Park Community Association, having served on our transportation committee, on our planning committee, and eventually made my way up to become the newsletter editor. And I got the chance to meet many of you actually in this room by virtue of doing a project on the history of some of the folks who live in the neighborhood. And it was really that was how I got my start in public life. I remember being a community association volunteer executive and meeting after meeting, despite the promises from their office, our local city councillor just didn't show up. They didn't come to listen to our concerns, and it just felt like he didn't care what we felt about what was going on in the neighborhood. As a community association volunteer, I had a lot of great ideas alongside the board that I was serving with. We wanted to be able to action them. We wanted to get things done for our community, but we were being held back by our city. And that's really where I got my start. Something incredibly amazing happened. I probably did something that was the stupidest that anybody could do in their mid-20s, but I quit my job and decided that I was going to run for city council. And what happened next, I could never, ever have expected. Many of you in this room, I remember knocking on your doors. Many of you in this room stepped up, invested, and supported in me. I had no idea what I was doing at the start. All I knew is that I felt that we had a city council that was not representative of us, that wasn't spending money wisely, that wasn't focused on transparency, and wasn't, their priorities didn't seem to be our priorities. So I knocked on doors and I had the incredible, incredible honor and experience meeting folks like Chris in the audience, others who invested in me. And ultimately, I was fortunate enough to earn an election as one of Calgary's youngest ever city councillors. I had the incredibly amazing privilege to be able to serve alongside an amazing ward office. Lindsay as well is here with us, who worked alongside me for many years in our office. And through all of the course of that, I fought hard for financial responsibility, for transparency, and for including Calgarians in the decisions that are being made about us so that they could be made with us. And I'll be honest, when I first started, I was very much kind of like the dog who got the car. I didn't know what I was doing, but just by course of, maybe just as an aside, how many of you in this room ever attended one of the town hall meetings that I conducted as a city councillor? So every month I had the opportunity just like this, 50 events, 50 times I stood in a room just like this to report to my constituents. Never being the smartest person in the room, but taking your ideas, carrying them forward, making sure that all of you had a voice in the decisions that were being made on planning, on land use, on zoning, on the budget, on the Olympics, so that you could have your priorities seen and heard at City Council. And I didn't just talk the talk, I walked the walk. Unlike others who may run on certain promises, I followed through, often at great personal cost. As an example, my decision to follow through on my promise to decline the City Council golden pension. That decision alone probably cost my family upwards of $500,000. But I did it because I believe in keeping my promises. Ultimately, I ran for mayor in 2021. I lost that election. We came so close. We came within 30,000 votes in a city of 1.5 million people. But it wasn't enough. That said, what happened afterwards, what happened after I lost the election, I never, ever could have ever expected. My phone didn't stop ringing. So many of you in this room, Melvin and Stephanie, I see you guys in the back right there. So many of you in this room reached out, urged me to get off the mat. Many of you in those moments right after the election told me that failure is the best teacher. And I took that to stock. I took the encouragement all of you gave to me to be able to not be bitter from the experience, but to sharpen my skills and be better. And I'm looking to bring that forward as your next mayor.
Oh, good. It's my turn. Hi, everybody. Jeff Davison, and I guess I'm also ready to be your next mayor. I was really hoping that they would serve the beer before this because the conversation would get way more entertaining if we had a few before. But it's an honor and a privilege. Thank you guys so much for hosting this. We didn't get this experience the last time where we got to get out in front of crowds and actually talk about what our platforms were coming out of COVID. For me, born and raised in Glamorgan, I think half of us running are from this area of town. I think I live down the street from Brian now. I've got Jeromy we grew up from. There must be something in the water over here on the west side of town. You know, we're going to talk tonight a lot about how the city is failing. We're going to talk tonight about why we don't feel safe in our city. We're going to talk tonight about why we don't think the infrastructure has kept up with growth. And we're going to talk tonight about affordability, which is one of those top things on everybody's mind. But as we move through tonight and we discuss all of these issues, there's one bigger issue that I think this election is about. It's about leadership. It's about experience. And it's about vision. And I think that's really what the most important thing when you consider your vote is going to be at the polls. There's a lot of people running in this election that will tell you things, and I'll tell you right now, I think they believe facts have no place in storytelling. There's a lot of misinformation out there. But it's up to you to do your homework and read about the candidates. For me, I've got 25 years in energy, technology, filmmaking. I've sat on city council, and I now run the Prostate Cancer Center, where I've tripled our funding and grown that agency to be provincial wide, all on donor dollars. I haven't had to rely on government dollars. Every single day, I have to do better for our patients with less. That's really what we need to do as a city. You know, when we talk about our plan to have a 4-year tax freeze, that is freezing municipal taxes to put more money back in your pocket. It is teaching the city that we have to deliver better services for less because we can't keep eroding our tax base. We can grow our tax base and we should grow our tax base, but ultimately we've got to stop pickpocketing our citizens. When we talk about public safety, every single day I go downtown, I see people shooting up in plus 15s. I see construction workers being attacked on the street. I see transit workers who've been attacked doing their job. And I see mothers who won't take their children downtown anymore because they don't feel safe. I myself have a 16-year-old who should be able to take transit to school. She should be able to get on the transit line. She should be able to get over there through Westbrook Station. But the disorder we're seeing for a 16-year-old who's a bit of an introvert these days, the city isn't safe for her. It's a different city today than it was even 3-4 years ago. And that's where I think the city council has failed. And that's why I think bringing somebody together who can bring people together, find the common ground and get things done is what we need as a city. We've got to stop the ideological attacks. We're not going to always love the province and we're not going to always love the federal government. But at the end of the day, I'm prepared to put Calgarians first. I'm prepared to go to bat for us to get our fair share and talk about why we need a partnership in public safety. One that brings the other orders of government together, one that brings our social agencies together, one that actually says we've got to agree that we have a common problem. And then we've all got to find our lane to stay in it in order to solve that problem. Calgary is the greatest city on earth. I'm born and raised here. You know, I don't believe that gives me any special privilege, but for everybody who's come to Calgary, we come here for opportunity. And we're tired of seeing that opportunity eroded. We're tired of seeing young people find opportunity in other jurisdictions. If we lose our young people today, we lose the brain power of tomorrow. And that's a shame. That's something we can't afford as a city. We've got to do better. And that's why we're moving forward with an agenda that addresses public safety. It addresses infrastructure to manage growth, to keep up with the rate. I am fully committed to rolling back the blanket rezoning. I'm the first candidate to do so. Because when we talk about a housing problem, we talk about an affordability problem. Well, all due respect, when the average row house starts at $700,000, that's not affordable. And you know, when we have 70,000 people moving to our city every single year, that's a great thing. But we can't manage growth building 4 houses at a time. We've got to think differently. We've got to manage growth better. We have to do better for our citizens. And that's what our campaign is all about. You know, for me, again, getting back to it, we've got to think about leadership. We've got to think about experience. And we have to think about the people that have talked a big game about saying no to a lot of things. And then today show up and say, but now I want to do them. It's all about trust. If you ask me what's our biggest challenge in this next election, I'll tell you, it's rebuilding trust with our citizens, with Calgarians. I don't believe city council's done a great job to build trust. In fact, I think they just stopped listening to us, right? When record amounts of people show up at public hearings and city council says, we know better, that's not the city I grew up in. That's not the city I want to be. This is a city that puts people first, that puts Calgarians first. And that's the campaign we're going to run. So I'm Jeff Davison, and I'm hoping to be your next mayor. Bell time.
I watched Jeff walk around this court and I don't want to step.
It's very awkward.
Yeah, it's a little awkward. My name is Brian Thiessen. I want to say thank you, first of all. You're doing a wonderful job moderating. And all the volunteers, it's so lovely to see young people out volunteering at this kind of organization. Thank you for everything you're doing. So I'm the only rookie in the group. So I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. I was born in Lethbridge, junior high in Edmonton. Spent my summers working in Water Valley, Alberta at a summer camp. And I fell in love with Calgary as a 14-year-old going to Stampede. Thought it was the most amazing city and I knew it's where I wanted to live. I've spent 46 of my 53 years in Southern Alberta here. But I did do finishing school, high school in Saskatchewan, which I think makes a very well-rounded person. I went to Queen's Business School, where I studied business, obviously, marketing major, industrial relations. And I taught at the Center for Newcomers after that and helped people who were immigrating to Canada to develop small business plans so they could start their own business. And I learned a valuable lesson about people who were recently arrived in Canada. They were immensely qualified and looking for opportunities in this city, and they had given up so much so their kids could have a great life. Then I applied for law school, and I applied at University of Calgary, where I'd always wanted to go. And when you apply to University of Calgary, you have to write an essay about why you want a law degree. And my essay was all about public service. I was very interested in how you could use legal knowledge to develop laws, bylaws to help society and improve society. And I got really excited about public policy. And I met a best friend there named Kevin Weiler, who was a quadriplegic hockey player who was hit from behind when he was 16 in Calgary. And then we met our buddy Chima, and we got involved in politics. And I spent the next 30 years pursuing my career, starting a family, met my wife at Stampede, first Friday at Stampede. And yes, and we started a family and grew together. And as you do, you start to live your life. And I had a 30-year career as an employment lawyer. And I gave back and itched my public service itch by serving with Habitat for Humanity, serving on the board of Ronald McDonald House, Southern Alberta. And my day practice was guiding organizations in dysfunction. So when Fortune 500 companies, not-for-profits, or municipalities around the province run into trouble and they have their most difficult issues, they would hire me to come in, analyze the organization, facilitate change, develop a strategy to dig their way out, and get them back on track. And I had a very successful career doing that. I decided to apply that in the public sector, so I took over as chair of the Calgary Police Commission in 2016. And we worked really hard on the community policing model and engaging the Calgary Police Service to be more reflective of the community they served. And I'm very proud of the fact that when I left the Calgary Police Commission, when I started, all the pictures on the wall were all white men. And when I left, the majority of commissioners were women. My successor was a woman. And we had our first Indigenous woman member of the commission. And we reflected the community that we wanted CPS to reflect. And for that, City Council named me Citizen of the Year in 2020. And then my law firm said they would like me, if I had so much spare time, to take over as managing partner. So I did that for the next 4 years, and I built a very successful strategy, working with my partners, using board facilitators to set a strategy and dramatically improving the business. And then last year, my friend Kevin died. And I took a moment to think about, as the Romans say, enjoy the hour, it's later than you think. And I went home to my family and I talked to them and I said, being managing partner of a national law firm is not my dream. My dream is to engage in public service. And my 16-year-old daughter said, it took you long enough. And so they backed me. And my boss told me I was making a catastrophic financial decision. And I said, that's okay. I'm going to step down. I'm going to pursue my dream because I think Calgary, if I see an organization in dysfunction, my natural inclination is to fix it. And so I thought about how to do that. And the province had introduced political parties. And despite me being one of the 70% of Albertans who didn't want municipal political parties, I thought about what you could do, glasses half full. And so we set about building the Calgary Party. And I recruited 14 amazing candidates to run in all 14 wards of this city. And we spent the last 10 months working on policy together. But more importantly, as I say to them all the time, we learned how to build the bike while we're riding it. We learned how to function as an effective team. We're a centrist party, and we have people from the right and the left because we believe good ideas come from across the political spectrum. And we've tackled really complex issues, and I'm going to tell you about them tonight. And I look forward to being your next mayor.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Sonya Sharp. Some of you know me from council all right now. I'm the representative for Ward 1 and for half of Ward 6. So thank you so much for hosting us tonight. And thank you to my opponents. I know that everyone's not here, and that's okay. So I'm going to take things a little bit differently. On my opening, I can say I don't really have a personal or ideological agenda like some of my opponents might have. I have a to-do list. And my to-do list has been compiling for the last almost 4 years. What's been going wrong at City Council, what is going wrong with our city, and what you want. And on this to-do list is not just what you want, but it's the leadership Calgarians need to get it done. As a mayor, it is your job to lead a city, to get things back on track, to know what Calgarians are asking for and deliver it. So some of the things on my to-do list are repealing blanket rezoning. And it sounds good when you say it. Let's repeal blanket rezoning. What does that mean? That means reinstating what was. And what has been missing is your voices back at the horseshoe. That's actually what was taken from you. And then reforming the planning department. And that means looking at faster, efficient permits, better engagement. A safer city, it's a buzzword right now. But what we are delivering is 500 new police officers in the next 2 years. Talking a little bit about community. I brought up Ward 1 because I'm a representative there. The safety in Ward 1 was dismal when I took over. It's 85% of people who live in Ward 1 are safe to walk in the streets at night. We talk about administration. Administration needs to be lean and focused. No more them taking control. It's the city council that has to control. I have 20 years inside. I have seen the flip happen, and it's really unfortunate. The other thing is restoring a relationship with our orders of government. Most importantly is the government of Alberta, because we have to go through them to get money. And fighting on Twitter isn't a good way to keep a relationship. And most importantly is just reinstating what matters to you back at City Hall. Now, one of my opponents also is running a party, so am I. But I'm not going to call it a party. I also did not support this when the province came forward with it because I don't believe partisan politics belongs at City Hall. But what I do believe is a team of like-minded individuals getting together with the same common to-do list and goals. And so I like calling us a team, and every team has a captain. I'm the captain of the team, and it's okay to admit that. And we've built this team with 9 other people that are the best representatives for their communities. And they come from all different flags. They come from all different walks of life, but they are the right people to represent you. And actually, I believe one of them was here last night, Cornelia Weed. Now, what's important about all of this is when we talk about a team, it takes 8 votes to get anything done at council. And if you've been watching me the last 4 years, I've been on the minority side. And, call me crazy to want to do this all over again, but I am, because I truly believe in this city. And I believe in everybody that's going to support me. And I believe everyone's going to support communities first, because we are the right team to lead this city. And there might not be 14 candidates on our team, but that's okay, because I do have a proven track record of bringing people together, and not just together, unanimously on some of the most contentious files this city council has ever seen. So I'm Sonya Sharp. I'm running with Communities First. And my goal is to make this the safest, most affordable city for all of you.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're going to jump right into our first question. And you will each have 1.5 minutes to answer the question. A minute last night felt a bit rushed. Okay. Please comment as best as you can on the blanket rezoning policy, affordable housing, the Minto project, Viscount Bennett, Marta Loop. I probably should have done that. Please.
How about Truman? Told you we need beer.
Do you guys want 2 minutes? Yeah. Okay. If that's fine with you, it's fine with me. 2 minutes. Parking, traffic, focus on solutions from our current state, please. Go.
Who's going first? Are you going down the list?
Well, thank you for the question. So housing is one of the greatest areas of focus that the city council and mayor have had zero plan. Over the last 4 years, we've had 300,000 brand new Calgarians come to the city. Many of them, just like my dad, who came as a refugee and immigrant with great hopes and dreams, want to build a life, help build up the city. But right now we have two entrenched factions on the city council that are stuck. On the one hand, we have the mayor who represents building anything everywhere but ignoring the community. And on the other hand, we have Councillor Sharp who represents building nothing anywhere in order for us to listen to the community. And the truth is we have to do both. We have to both build and we have to listen. Why? Because of our youth. On the way in at the door, I asked our volunteers what they cared about the most. What was their issue for this election, despite the fact that they couldn't vote? They told me they worried about whether they have a future in the city. So we have to build. We have to ensure that for the next 400,000 Calgarians who arrive here in the next 3 years, we're going to be a city of 2 million people. We need to ensure that we have the housing and the safety to be able to support that. So I'm absolutely committed to repealing blanket rezoning, but it has to come alongside a plan to be able to build the homes where the services and infrastructure can support it. This is an opportunity for the community, for all of you, to take accountability and ensure that our representatives be accountable. This morning, we launched a petition called stopsellingparks.ca. You'll remember, 2 blocks away from here, Councillor Davison, Councillor Gondek supported the sell-off of Richmond Green. They told us, for us to have needed housing, we have to sell our parks. That is just absolutely insane. If we are going to build the city that we know we need to be, we need to both have the housing in the right places and we need to double down on the investment for parks. I am advocating for a ban on selling city parks so that what happened to our ball diamond never gets to happen ever again anywhere else in the city. Nextly, on the
I apologize.
Yeah.
I did make a mistake. You guys did have 5 minutes.
next on Viscount Bennett. This has again been such an incredible failure of leadership where we see two extremes on the city council and a lack of willingness to listen to the community. When I think about a similar situation that played out in my community in Ward 11, we worked genuinely with the community, with genuine consultation and genuine listening in order to get the project done at the Oak Ridge Co-op. Initially, the co-op came to us as a city council. And what they initially asked for was it was out of line with the character of the community. So what did we do? We worked with the community. We modified the proposal so that we could actually build the support of the community associations. We took the courage to go a little bit slower on that in order to be able to build something that would last in the long term. So again, to recap, the issue is we have to listen to Calgarians. We have to continue to be building, but we need to do it in a way that's informed. And it also takes stock of the fact that we cannot afford not to. It's our next generation that is counting on us to be able to come up with a solution and not just say that we're going to repeal blanket rezoning. We have to repeal blanket rezoning. We have to listen to the community, but we have to continue to be able to build the homes so that these folks can see a future in the city. And that is exactly what I will do as your next mayor.
What were the 18 points of your question again? I know we're talking about development. Okay, I think I got it. We're talking about development here. I mean, again, folks, this is why I said facts have no place in storytelling. I'm not going to take that from flip-flop Farkas over here, so we'll just kind of move on with our time. Everything's 2 blocks away. I don't know where everything is 2 blocks away, but there we are. Look, when it comes to development, we have put a plan together that, number one, we need to build tax base. Number two, we need to build density where density makes sense. I'm rolling back to blanket rezoning. When I was the councillor for Ward 6, we put in 3 new communities in Ward 6. So new communities within existing communities. We've got the Springbank Hill project, we've got the West District project, and we've got Trinity's project down at Winsport. All 3 projects were about bringing the community together, talking about area structure plans that the community would support, and working with development to make it happen. We will add 55,000 residents to the west side, all with very little opposition, because we respected what the community asked us. We put the density where the density makes sense. And right now, we're currently fighting a lack of representation on city council for a project in Springbank Hill that has been upzoned 3 times in the last 25 months, all because nobody's there to say no to the density where the density doesn't belong. Because we made an agreement with the community, we put it in this particular place. Long story short, how we develop in our city has to change. And I think, you know, for a long time, we've watched city council struggle with the yes mayor party and the naysay party. Collectively, they've just gotten nothing done. It's why I'm running as an independent. You know, the greatest thing about Calgary is the diversity of our communities. I don't want every community to look the same. I want to be able to go down to Englewood and have dinner and have a different experience there than I could have in Seton or in Saddle Ridge. That's the important thing about Calgary. The beautification of our communities, the rolling about everything looking the same is just, it's nonsense to me. And when you couple that with this party mentality of we know best and this idea that, you know, we're all going to think the same. If everybody thinks the same, how is it different than what we have right now? Right? We don't innovate as a city. We don't talk through questions and work solutions together. And we certainly, you know, don't need a bunch of yes people. I mean, at the end of the day, I think about it like this. Running a healthcare charity now, putting my patients first every single day. If I had a bunch of yes people on my management team, I'd fire every one of them because I believe in innovation. I believe in making change happen. I believe in doing better for that individual. And that's the same as I feel for Calgarians. I want diversity of thought at the table. I want to be able to work through questions. That's the greatest thing about how we're going to change development in our city and how we're going to put you first and talk about what you want in your communities. You know, if we are going to take density in certain areas, what do we get as amenities? You know, what's the city doing with projects like Westbrook, right? $90 million and no plan, an ASP that nobody really got to have any say in. And here we are later, we have nothing built, right? We've got one of the most, a $1.3 billion train line in the area with no housing. So if you're this city council and you support climate and you support more housing and you support more affordable housing and you support ridership, connect the dots. That's all it takes. Build transit oriented development. Let's look at where some of these large projects can exist so that we're not pitting neighbors against neighbors. At the end of the day, I mean, I've heard so many officers tell me they go to cul-de-sacs where people are literally fist fighting each other over parking. Over parking. Like the city council needs to learn how to respect what citizens are saying. We shouldn't be fighting about parking in our city, right? We should have consistent and clear rules for development. But this city council just haphazardly lets administration apply discretion where and when they want. Something that applies here doesn't apply over here. You know, rules for these people aren't rules for these people. That's all got to change because at the end of the day, development is about understanding what we should all expect, what we should all be working towards together, and how we want to develop our communities for the community, by the community, not because city council says so. At the end of the day, every single one of us elected, every single employee at the city is in service to Calgarians. And I think we've forgotten that. And we need to get back to that and put Calgarians first if we're going to solve development problems in our city. Thank you.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So listen, the Calgary Party started, as I said, with writing detailed policies in each of these areas. And we started with a housing toolkit. And our housing toolkit outlines our policies for building the housing we need. We added 28,000 people in the first quarter of this year, 100,000 people last year. We'll be 2 million people in the next 4 years, and then on our way to 3 million people. So housing needs to be a priority in every decision that's made at City Hall, and it certainly has not been over the last 4 years. We want to streamline the process. City Hall, in the admin that Councillor Sharp worked in as an employee, has quadrupled the level of regulations. It's all over the map. It takes 18 months for Attainable Homes Calgary to build affordable housing. So we need to get to work on reducing and streamlining the regulatory process. We've proposed a 3331 policy, 3 days for a housing permit, 3 weeks for a complex housing, and 3 months for large scale projects. And we think that we need to hold the city accountable to really pursuing a streamlined approval process for housing in the city if we're going to really address the housing crisis. So we have real ideas on how to build housing. And now I'm going to say the part that these people won't say. I'm not going to cancel zoning on day one. I'm going to fix it. And that's way harder to do. It is so easy to create an issue, throw gasoline on the fire, and then offer to solve it by repealing a policy you proposed. What we need to do is listen to Calgarians. That's what we screwed up the first time around. I went to those hearings. I sat in those hearings. And in the first set of hearings, Councillor Sharp and her friends, Dan McLean and Andre Chabot, scoffed at the people who spoke in favor of open zoning. And then at the second set of hearings, the other side of the table scoffed at the people who were opposed to it. And they all forgot that they were supposed to be serving Calgarians, listening to Calgarians, listening to the people in their neighborhoods about what they wanted in their neighborhoods. And I am telling you, this does not need to divide us. We can build housing and respect communities. It's absolutely doable. And we have to, because we have a lot of people coming to this city. Now I want to talk about Martelou because nobody's addressed that. We've proposed a policy to respect small businesses, to think about small businesses first as you build in communities like Martelou. And I've spent time with restaurants in those. I've owned a restaurant. I can tell you that the delays, the rebuilds, the redigging up of Main Street in Martelou is unacceptable. So we've proposed a dig once policy, that the city gets its act together and it digs the utilities once. A concierge for small businesses. So they have one person at City Hall that they can go to get the answers they need on how long they're going to be out of business or their storefront's going to be closed. Property tax exemptions for those small business owners. So they have actual access to funds that they didn't have while their stores are closed. We need to think of our small businesses in Calgary as the vital partners that they are to build the community. On Viscount Bennett, I think we could have done a better job. I wasn't on this council. This council could have done a better job of listening to people. City admin should have considered more seriously Crow-Child access and looked into that more seriously. They should have listened to the concerns the neighborhood had about parking and green space. I have friends who are neighbors in that community and they said to me, we knew it needed to be developed. It absolutely, that school couldn't stand there as it was. We needed to do development. We just asked for reasonable development and we asked for a say in our community. And I think that was absolutely possible. And so we need to get back to that, actually engaging with communities in a meaningful way as we develop projects like Viscount Bennett. So I told you we had well thought out policies, and the one last piece I'll talk about on housing is a housing first strategy, which is part of our public safety policy. So I have chaired the police commission, as I mentioned, and I can tell you when Sonya talks about hiring 500 police in the next 2 years, and that's going to solve your issue. I spoke to the chief of police a month ago, and I can tell you the people who will tell you you cannot police your way out of this situation are the Calgary Police Service. You cannot police your way out of mental health and addiction issues. So we have proposed a public safety toolkit that addresses mental health and addiction issues and houses them with the Calgary Police Service and Transit Police, but most importantly, builds housing for the homeless. Thank you.
I feel like my name has been said so much tonight, it must be a threat. But I do have friends. That's an important thing that I guess Brian mentioned. So I'll talk about blanket rezoning first. And did I listen to Calgarians? Absolutely, I did. Over 72% of Calgarians showed up and said they didn't want it. So I listened to them. And no, I didn't scoff at anyone. I think I'm one of the most eye-catching people in the audience. I always maintain eye contact with people that show up and speak. But I'll give Brian credit. He showed up and spoke on what his position was. Didn't see Jeff or Jeromy there though. So we'll leave that there. So repealing blanket rezoning and reinstating what was there was the fact that you have been removed from a process. City administration cut you out of the process, saying that's what took so long. I can tell you that you can shave 120 days off the internal process with you still coming to City Hall and having your say on the single most important thing in your life, which generally is your home. Reforming the planning department. Yeah, there's a lot of people that work there, but we can also streamline the process. We can also stop spending so much time at City Hall at night after 6 p.m. and paying overtime, which no one has ever wanted to change that. I will be proposing that all meetings end before 6 p.m. because the amount of money we spend from 6 to 9:30 actually shaves off the amount that a land use will cost somebody. So $13,000 per application. That is coming in a couple of weeks. So when I talk about repeal, reinstate, reform, I'm serious about it. And we have a team of people that do that. We talk about affordable housing. I think what people have to remember is roles and responsibilities. The city of Calgary is a governing body when it comes to applications. We talk about efficiency, we can give you permits, and we can get you across that finish line when it comes to inspections. But the role of affordable housing belongs to the government of Alberta, and we're supporting them. Can we get better at it? Absolutely. One of the folks up here talked about transit-oriented development. Absolutely. Let's utilize that more. Let's talk about market housing. Let's talk about affordability. But I'm going to bring something up that no one's talking about because I live it with my parents. Seniors housing. There's an influx of baby boomers that are going to have nowhere to live if we don't start paying attention. Has the premier heard me talk about this? Yes, she has, because I live it. My dad can barely make ends meet in some of the housing he's been living in. My mom lives with me because we can't afford for her to live on her own. So we have to think about who we're serving and what audience we're serving. So we do have a role to play for affordable housing, but it's supporting. Now, Viscount Bennett, I did not support that file. I also agreed that the access from Crowchild Trail should have been there. I didn't support it based on the density, the traffic, and the community didn't want it. I also asked the applicant to postpone it so we'd have more time. They didn't want to do that. So unfortunately, it got passed. The representative of this community was pushing it. And you know what? It is what it is. At this point, we can't change it. But hopefully a new councillor can work with the file manager on the development permit and reduce some of the impacts to the community. Marta Loop, I have one word, absolute disaster. I guess that's more than one word. Disaster. We'll use that. It was too fast, too much, too soon, not coordinated. So I did run the business and local economy team when I was at the city. Actually, Jeff Davison would know because he worked very closely with me on the business advisory committee. We actually implemented the one window. That went great for 17th Avenue. It's been gone for Marta Loop. That needs to change. Marta Loop businesses has struggled and they will continue to struggle because of what's happening down there. Now, we need to learn from that moving forward. Stephen Avenue is being ripped up. Can't imagine what that's going to look like at wintertime. I tried to stop that. I tried to delay it. Administration's moving forward. This goes back to my point at the beginning where it says who sets a policy at City Hall? Administration's been setting the policy for far too long. City Council needs to change that. So we talked about Marta Loop, we talked about Viscount Bennett, but what we need to talk about is the relationship we need to have with the people delivering the services. What that means is Marta Loop could have been done in an expedited, a more efficient way if city administration would have worked with the experts. And by working with experts, is mean people that can actually deliver the construction in a timely, efficient manner. But what happens is they get bogged down in wanting to do the job themselves. So I'll also make a comment on someone making a comment about not policing or getting police and a bunch of police officers not going to solve your way out of crime. Coming from the guy that probably started and finished the social disorder when he was the chair, because I've done my research. And if everyone who wants this room wants to do any research, go ahead and do your research. Mr. Jeromy Farkas, it makes me laugh about the fact that you don't think votes are actually reported, because they are. But anyways, we'll get on the safety stuff next.
You sure you don't want to go to 2 minutes?
So that one was 5, I apologize. And these next 2 were meant to be, I think, a minute or a minute. I could do 2 on the next. Yes?
A new rule?
You will?
If you let politicians in front of a microphone, we'll just keep talking, people.
If it's okay with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Comment on the current situation with homelessness, addiction, mental health, safety within our ward and in the city in general. What can you do? What will you do?
Start with saying.
2 minutes. Want to start again, right?
Well, you know, I couldn't let that pass, but to the speaker before me, it's kind of funny. She did realize that votes are recorded because everyone just tracked down that she actually had voted for the climate emergency, and now she's suddenly against the climate emergency. So yes, there is actually a city council minutes. I would say we can stand up on the stage and not have to snipe at each other, right? I think we can hold each other accountable, but we don't have to be personal. I think what we're seeing is the opportunity for you as the voters to hold all of the people on the stage accountable. I think in various ways, the other folks on the stage with me have made decisions that have made Calgary a little less safe. In the same month, for example, that City Council approved unprecedented almost $1 billion for the arena, it was the same councillor here who supported cuts to preventative mental health funding, driving more Calgarians into crisis. It was in 29, or rather prior to his time exiting as police commission chair, that Mr. Thiessen, as chair of the police commission, actually supported the decision to close the downtown police station. So Calgary is now the only major North American city without a downtown police station. And it was in 2020 that Councillor Davison actually supported defunding the police, saying that the police somehow were asking for less money. So right now, again, it illustrates the fact that there's two entrenched factions. It's really two groups. You know, one group just wants to throw cops at it. The other group wants to throw social workers at it. But we need both prevention and immediate safety and security. And that's what my 25-point plan is advocating for. You can take a look at it at ourpathforward.ca, but it advocates for the steps forward that we need to be able to address immediate safety and security, particularly along transit, and it's tough on the causes of crime, going to the root causes. But enforcement without compassion doesn't work. Compassion without enforcement doesn't work. So we need a holistic plan that actually invests in the whole continuum to be able to make Calgary safer.
You can start the next one. Yeah, you do that. Again, facts have no place in storytelling. You know, that's always very interesting. I mean, it's funny. The one counselor who started this defund nonsense was Jeromy. And it was nice for a while. But actually, when the police chief comes to you and says, "This is what I need," you do it, right? My job is to not be the smartest person in the room. My job is to listen to the experts. And when the police chief said, "Counselor Davison, I need body worn cameras," I said yes. When the police chief said, "We need more for mental health for our officers," I said yes. When the police chief asked me for new helicopters, I said yes, because Calgary has the most widely flown helicopters in the world for policing. Fun fact. When the police chief says, "Not every call needs an officer's response. What we need is mental health and addiction workers supporting us," I supported that too. That's what we need on our streets right now. In 3.5 years, that program has been canceled. Does anybody feel safer on the streets of Calgary? I don't. That's the point. It's about finding the common ground, bringing the other orders of government together, working with our community agencies. We all have a role to play in what has now happened on the streets of Calgary. It's happening across North America. But I can tell you this, operating in silos has got us nothing. Pointing fingers has got us nothing. A lot of politicians will tell you their favorite 4 words are on time, on budget. I think Jeremy's is do nothing, take credit. And that's where we're at, right? Because we talked about the sniping, but the sniping doesn't work, right? What it takes is togetherness. And that's how we're going to solve the problems we see downtown. Is that your buzzer or somebody's out there? Oh, okay. So again, working with the other orders of government, working with community agencies, working with the police, adding more police. Oh yeah, all of these things have to come together. But what it takes is us agreeing that we have a common problem. What it takes is us working together to find our path forward in that, right? Talk about our firefighters. Firefighters are often first responders to just about every medical call downtown right now. They're not equipped to do the job and they need more support. But again, operating in silos is getting us nothing. That is your buzzer this time. Okay, all right, thank you.
So we're going to let Sonya speak first next time, so it goes in the opposite order. But on this issue, first I should address what Mr. Farkas said. He served on the commission, so he knows this, but for your benefit, that's not how police department district offices work. That's not how decisions are made at the commission. It's an oversight, public oversight board. And so it is the CPS that recommends where offices are located. And if you can review the minutes if you like, myself and Vice Chair Silver, now Madam Justice Silver, grilled the Calgary Police Service at length about whether it was wise to close a downtown location. And we put them through the test and the ringer, and they decided to make that decision despite the commission's objections, which they are entitled to do. And Councillor Farkas voted for it on City Council. So let me talk about public safety. We have, as I mentioned, a public safety plan that was developed from the Downtown Safety Table report. We met with 30 mental health and addiction agencies and the entire executive of the Calgary Police Service. And we said, we want to focus, they said to us, focus on these three things: a housing first strategy. It's been done in Finland. It is both the compassionate thing to do. You put people who are homeless in houses. It also saves, we predict, about $100,000 per person per year to provide them with shelter through decreased costs to healthcare, emergency services, and the justice system. So it's absolutely both the compassionate thing to do, and it will save us money. 24/7 mental health and addiction teams integrated with Calgary Police Service and Calgary Transit. Alpha House, they're doing it right now. All of the other agencies that work downtown said to us, don't duplicate it, don't reinvent it, fund Alpha House, do it 24/7 and house them with CPS. So I took it to the executive of the Calgary Police Service, the entire executive officer group of them. And they did tell me, by the way, we cannot police our way out of this. It's absolutely true. And they know a thing or two about policing. And so what they recommended to me, they said, Brian, not only is your strategy right, but we can implement it on day one. Thank you.
Okay, so when it comes to mental health and addictions and support, again, roles and responsibilities. This was a motion that actually failed at council because some of my colleagues didn't want to know what their role or responsibility was. But outlining what our role is in municipal government, and is funding policing. It's funding the our fire teams. It's funding our public safety, transit safety. But when it comes to what's happening inside some of these buildings, it's not our responsibility. What's happening outside these buildings is our responsibility. I'll talk about the Schumer for a second. What's happening on the outside of the Schumer is my responsibility. It's my responsibility to make sure the citizens are safe, the businesses are safe, and those driving around it safe. So, if elected mayor and Communities First members, I will say this here, and it is the first time I'm saying it. The premier will receive a letter from me saying, hey, please close that addictions site at your earliest convenience, and let's figure out a plan. We need to make sure our cities are safe, and no one wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about what's happening in these locations. They think that city council can solve it all. We can support compassionate care, but what is happening on our streets is very different than what we can ever imagine. So we have a supporting role for mental health and addiction, and we have a role to play when it comes to community standards and community bylaws and supporting our fire and supporting our police. But we have to get back to what municipal government actually is. And that isn't supporting what's happening in the building. That's supporting on what's happening outside. You, the businesses, the people that walk the streets. I have heard it from many people in this room, and I've heard it from a lot of people that live in Morday, and I hear it from people that walk by it all the time. What is happening there isn't working.
Okay, our final question of the evening. 2 minutes to answer.
It's like one of those 8-parters.
That's not good. Please comment on our current infrastructure and how we can improve it in the next 10 years. Think public schools, green spaces, and other facilities such as indoor arenas, soccer pitches, pools, etc.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Brian.
No, you good?
So infrastructure in Calgary. It was a hard water main break for everybody. I know that. But what I will say is we have a fix it first mentality when it comes to infrastructure and the stuff we're leading with communities first. We are behind about 10 years of infrastructure. And we do need to fix before we can rebuild. We cannot throw good money after bad anymore. We have pools that need to be fixed. We have arenas that need to be fixed. We have a plan called Game Plan. That's a vision of what the strategy looks like. But really what we need to talk about is the relationship with our city builders. And those are the people that are building our city and understanding what the market needs. There's been 10 years where these people have not been at the table. And what that means is we don't understand what's going on. It hasn't been a priority to city administration. That needs to change. I've already had those conversations with the industry and said, you need to tell me what the market's like, what's going on. Well, there's inefficiencies and uncertainty with them. Tendering isn't happening fast enough. And when tendering doesn't happen fast enough, things cost more. And guess who pays for that? You do. So things need to change. And I've made that promise to that industry as mayor. I will be having those conversations because those conversations have been gone for 10 years. But when it comes to things like amenity, we can bring all the people we want in the city. But if we don't start focusing on the amenities, then we're going to be falling behind. We have a conversion program going downtown. Things are going really great, but it's hard to bring people downtown when you don't have schools or parks or playgrounds, swimming pools, arenas for them to want to build their families there. So we have to look at the landscape of our city and say, what do we have to fix first? Because some of these playgrounds are dilapidated. Fix those first. Then let's build more. And let's make sure people want to live where they want to live. And let's not vilify our inner city builders against our suburban builders because they're building the city for everyone.
So I'm just going to quickly address how dangerous the proposal of Councillor Sharp was on sending a letter to the Premier to close the Shamir on day one without a plan. Please read my op-ed that I wrote on this topic. The Calgary Police Service will tell you that will make all use street use. And using Councillor Sharp's analogy, all of that will become her problem and it will be a disaster. It needs to be well thought out and you need to really have a plan and funding in place if you're going to do that. On infrastructure, Calgary has 22% of our treated water is leaked into the ground. Edmonton has 5%. So it's a bit of a disaster, 22%. These councils and previous councils have collected funds to inspect and replace that pipe, and they didn't do it. So we have a massive infrastructure deficit, and we have to inspect and replace the entire main line, as well as a significant portion of our water infrastructure. So again, the Calgary Party, you can check on our website, has proposed creation of a water utility. It's been done in Edmonton. EPCOR runs theirs. That's how they got to 5%. It's a professional utility, a private corporation that reports 100% owned by the city, profits to the city, reduce fees, and their only goal is to build world-class water infrastructure. And again, they've done it 1/4 of the leakage. So that's what we propose for Calgary. So, an organization that is professional, focused, and spends their fees on inspection and replacement. On Game Plan, it is a great plan with no funding. So we need to fund recreational facilities, and we're going to have to get creative as we do that. I was really excited to sit down with the entire executive of the YMCA at the Remington facility yesterday, and they told us about a private partnership that they're pursuing with Truman on the west side in Ward 6. And Truman is prepared to donate the land, provincial, federal, and municipal funding. And we could move up that project. They want to break ground in 2027. That's 8 minutes from here, and be done on 2029 and have a library, recreational facility, and pool all in one.
It's okay, you gotta finish the sentence. It's good, it's good, it's good. Give him a hand, everybody. There's a very quiet buzzer on that one, so no, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Like Brian, was funny is I spent last summer up in Edmonton quite often talking on behalf of the Prostate Cancer Center, and every time I'd open with a joke around, who knew Edmonton would have hockey and running water? That was the state of where we were at the time. The funny thing is like when it comes to infrastructure, it's not always the sexy thing to talk about building the roads and putting the pipes in the ground. But that's actually what we need to be doing first, right? We need to put the pipes in the ground. We need to put the roads in place before we see the development. You know, we talked a little bit about, oh, did you want me to get that? We talked a little bit about Marda Loop, right? Marda Loop is a community that, you know, people didn't thoughtfully think through the density going in there. There was a Main Street program, there was a plan, there was communication, there was a construction plan. All of that failed because everybody on council was asleep at the wheel. And then they turned around and put another 30-story building in there or more. So we're going to be tearing up the roads again. Infrastructure requires connecting the dots, right? From the time we set a plan as a community together, it requires connecting the dots. What type of infrastructure needs to support this program? What types of roads need to support this program? You know, it's a 1, 2, 3 type process, not 3, 1, 2, and here we are tearing up roads again. You know, from a water perspective, it's interesting because I'll tell you, I don't think anybody really blames city council for the water fail, right? What we blame them on is the cleanup. Because I didn't once hear any city councilor stand up in council and say 3 things. What's the permanent fix? How much will it cost? And when will it be done? Because Calgarians want to rely on safe and affordable infrastructure. And Brian's right. We have collected the money. The problem was the maintenance budget got cut. This council cut it from $10 million a year to 2. Well, there's going to be an impact to that. And we all lived through the impact, right? We didn't shower. We didn't run waters. The mayor told us to drink beer and not the water. I mean, it was fine. I mean, you're probably doing well in business for that, but, you know, it doesn't really help the rest of us trying to go to work, you know? So, I mean, thinking through infrastructure ahead of projects is a big thing. On the gameplay piece, I'm with you. I think we need more recreation. We need more sport facilities in our city. When we left council, we passed a motion for $250 million for, I think it was something like 11 new facilities. Where did the money go? Where did the money go? I didn't, you're right, you can't hear the buzzer. I couldn't hear you.
This is the last 2 minutes.
You're a closer?
Well, the money went to the Flames. Council's focus has been on the big Taj Mahal facilities like the BMO Center, the Arts Commons, the new event center. We need all of those things, but we got to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. We have a mayor and council that have just chosen not to fight for the community. The Flames get their permits fast-tracked, but if you're a Vacoba, you close. If you're Inglewood Pool, you hang on for your dear life. We need to do both. We need to invest in the street level infrastructure so that Calgarians can actually have access to these quality services. On parks, we got to stop selling parks to begin with. That's a process that Councillor Davison started. Councillor Sharp chose not to stop. In fact, it's only accelerated through Councillor Sharp and others' votes in favor of selling green space at Glenmore Landing. In 2018, on the water pipe issue, I stood up with Councillor Farrell and I asked, what's it going to take to permanently fix it? What's it going to cost? And when can we get it done? You can Google it. Farkas, Farrell, lead water pipes. We daylighted the issue. The issue here is that the priorities of spending for City Council have not lined up with what Calgarians need. I want to close on talking about a really critical issue for this election, as we see 3 party-connected candidates staging a takeover of our City Council, and that's campaign finance transparency. Of 130 plus candidates in this race, our campaign is the only one who trusts you today to know who is financially backing our campaign. You can go to our website and see a list of every single donor to be able to know who is backing our vision for the city. This is a major issue in terms of the money and the influence, particularly as we're talking about issues about development, particularly as we're talking about infrastructure, zoning, all of that. As voters, this is our chance to be able to hold all of the individuals on the stage accountable for our actions. Do so. I encourage you to vote, and I'm hoping to be able to earn your support on October 20th.
All right, that concludes our Q&A portion of the night. Thank you so much to the 4 of you for being here. Best of luck on October 20th. That doesn't conclude the evening, though. We will have the opportunity to meet and mingle now. So please stick around. I'll ask the 4 of you maybe to take a corner or you'll schmooze. And it's a great chance to, continue the conversations. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here tonight. Really appreciate it.